You know, I do want to tear this guy apart, but I'm going to do it clinically. I'm going to do it with a boxing brain, not a mind full of hate.
Chris Eubank Jr. is ready to tear Conor Benn apart in their upcoming fight, but he's making it clear that he'll do so with a cool, calculated mindset. Despite the heated rivalry, Eubank vows to leave hate aside and dismantle his opponent with pure boxing intelligence. Eubank Jr. is not letting the pressure of the rivalry distract him from his goal. He stated, "The task at hand stays the same. The game plan, the mentality, the mindset, it doesn't change. It changes for nobody. I have to win." For Eubank, it's all about sticking to the fundamentals and staying focused on the bigger picture. He knows that no matter how personal the fight gets, the objective is clear, a victory. His preparation will be relentless, and his mindset won't waver. The rivalry might add fuel to the fire, but Eubank is keeping his eyes firmly on the prize. The stakes are higher now as the rivalry between Eubank and Benn has evolved into something far more personal.
It's very, very personal now. Before, you know, it really just was, all right, our old men fought 35 years ago. The people want to see us fight. What a great story. And it is a great story. Now, me and Conor have our own history. We have our own beef. We have our own story. You mix that together with the fact that our fathers have fought and were two of the best British boxing best British boxers of all time, it makes for you know, an insane event, an insane story, an insane night of fighting, because it's real.
What started as a story of two legend sons continuing their father's legacies has quickly turned into a fierce individual feud. Eubank makes it clear that the tension is no longer just about their fathers, it's about their own bad blood. With each passing day, their personal history only adds more fire to the clash. This fight is more than just a big match. It's a battle with deep roots and a burning desire for supremacy. Eubank believes this story is what will make the fight truly unforgettable. Eubank is clear that while the rivalry is intense, there's a fine line between animosity and hatred.
No, animosity and hating somebody are two different things. You know, of course, I do not like Conor. Of course, I have disdain for this man. He tried to cheat. He did cheat in our first fight 2.5 years ago. He took performance-enhancing drugs. He was caught and the fight got called off. So animosity is rife between me and him. But hate is, that's a very dark energy. That's a very consuming mentality to have towards somebody or someone or people. I would never give anybody that type of power over me, for me to be able to hate them.
Despite the deep animosity between them, Eubank refused to let hate control him. He acknowledges the serious issues like Benn's failed drug test, but insists that he won't let those emotions consume him. For Eubank, it's about staying in control and not giving Benn the power to dictate his feelings. His focus remains on the fight itself, not letting bitterness overshadow his professional mindset. It's all about keeping a clear head, no matter how personal things get. In a surprising and bold move during their face-off, Chris Eubank took things to another level.
Sky Sports box office in the UK and Ireland.
What you saying?
Saturday.
What you saying?
Benn versus Eubank.
Billy Big Box over here.
No, I just find it funny your name off.
What do you find funny?
Yeah, it's hilarious. That's unusually taking this fight.
What are you saying?
That's unusually taking this fight.
What are you saying? Fuck you doing? What you doing?
He smacked an egg right in Benn's face, a move that shocked fans and added even more fuel to the fire. Eubank's action was clearly a statement, an indication of how far he's willing to go to rattle his opponent. The playful yet provocative gesture only heightened the intensity of the rivalry. It was a moment that showed Eubank's confidence and his desire to dominate, both mentally and physically. The face-off becomes an unforgettable moment in a fight that promises to be anything but ordinary. Eubank didn't just stop at one egg, he had a plan in mind, and it was more than just a spontaneous gesture.
I had multiple eggs in my pockets.
Okay.
The Louis Vuitton jacket I had was filled with at least 9. Some of them rotten, some of them were, old.
Oh, wow.
But I only had time to grab one in that particular instance. I would have loved to have grabbed more, and I thought, when I was thinking about it, the dream was to be able to just unleash. But one was all I could muster, and one was enough.
He revealed that he had multiple eggs in his pockets, ready to unleash even more chaos if the moment called for it. With his jacket packed with eggs, he was prepared to take things to the next level, but in the end, one was all he needed to make his point. Eubank's strategy was all about creating impact even in the smallest moments. It was a playful yet calculated move, showing just how far he's willing to go to get inside Benn's head. His confidence and willingness to push the limits were clear in this wild move. Eubank's egg stunt wasn't just about creating drama, it was about sending a clear message. He stated, "I bought the cheapest, oldest, crustiest eggs I could find from the worst store I could find. You know that's what this kid deserves." He went out of his way to find the cheapest, oldest eggs he could find, and it wasn't by accident. Eubank's intention was to give Benn exactly what he felt he deserved. By choosing the worst eggs he could find, he was making a statement about his disdain for his rival. The move shows how far Eubank is willing to go to show just how personal things have gotten. It wasn't just about the eggs, it was a reflection of the deep-seated animosity that has fueled this rivalry. Eubank's egg obsession goes even deeper, rooted in a personal belief that still fuels his anger.
The day I found out that, they were saying that these drug tests, these failed drugs tests, were because of contaminated eggs. The day I heard that story, that fabrication, that fantasy that they really kind of stuck with, I said there and then, I'm gonna hit this guy with an egg across the face as soon as I get a chance. And that was 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
Their first fight, planned for October 2022, was called off after Benn failed a drug test with the excuse being egg contamination. That story never sat right. The moment he heard Benn's excuse about the failed drug test being linked to contaminated eggs, Eubank knew exactly how he'd react. To him, it was a fabrication that added even more fuel to the fire. His decision to use eggs as a symbol of his disdain wasn't just impulsive, it had been building for over 2 years. And now, as the fight draws closer, it's clear that this is one of the personal elements driving him. Eubank's egg-filled jacket wasn't just a random prop, it was all part of his plan to send a strong message.
Yep. I sat there, I walked into the press conference. One of those puppies cracked, actually. In the jacket, you have like a Louis Vuitton man bag or purse, I don't know what you call it, but it's attached to the back of the jacket. And I had a few eggs in there, and one of those puppies did crack, unfortunately. But everything else that were in the pockets in front, they were fine. And yeah, I knew what I was doing. It was planned, it was anticipated. It was an egg of justice, it was a symbol.
Walking into the press conference, Eubank knew exactly what he was doing. He had eggs packed in his jacket, and although one cracked by accident, the rest stayed intact for his big moment. For Eubank, it wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was calculated and intentional. The egg he threw wasn't just for show, it was an egg of justice, a symbolic act in his eyes to settle the score. Every move, every detail was thought out in advance to make sure Benn felt the full weight of Eubank's anger. For Eubank, the egg wasn't just a stunt, it was a deliberate act with a deeper meaning. He stated it was a symbol. It wasn't about attacking him or hurting him or slapping him. It was about making an example. This had to, I had to shine a light on the fact that he was a cheat. He made it clear that the egg wasn't meant to attack or physically hurt Ben. It was a statement. Eubank wanted to make an example out of Ben, shining a light on what he sees as Ben's dishonesty. For Eubank, it wasn't just about getting back at his rival. It was about reminding everyone of the failed drug tests and the label of being a cheat that Ben carries. This symbolic act, in Eubank's eyes, was necessary to make the world see the truth. It wasn't just about the moment. It was about making sure Ben paid the price for his actions. Even Chris Eubank's father expressed his disappointment over the egg incident, saying it didn't reflect the values he had instilled in his son. He went on to discuss his feelings on his YouTube channel, condemning the act and stating that it wasn't the Eubank way.
It isn't the Eubank way. When have you guys ever seen me do anything like this before? Never. I had a guy, Spike O'Sullivan. This fucking guy kissed me in a face-off, a head-to-head face-off. I didn't throw a punch. So I'm not that guy to be putting my hands on opponents. But I felt like this had to be done. I had to make an example of this guy.
Eubank was quick to defend his actions, stating that this wasn't typical of him. He made it clear that he's never been the type to get physical in face-offs, even when provoked. However, in this case, he felt the need to send a message, believing that making an example of Ben was necessary. Despite the criticism from his father, Eubank justified the egg incident as a way to stand up for what he believed was right. For him, this wasn't about aggression, it was about making Ben face the consequences of his past actions. Eubank's anger towards Ben's failed drug test goes beyond personal beef. It's about sending a message to the next generation of fighters and fans.
There are kids watching this event, watching this fight. I can't have them thinking that they can go and use drugs and they'll still be able to get to these positions and people will just forget and let them get away with it. No. If you do it, you're going to get embarrassed, you're going to get made an example of, you're going to lose all your respect, you're going to lose all your credibility. This is what I'm trying to take from Conor. He doesn't deserve it. They talk about he's cleared. You are cleared to fight, but so is every other fighter who's got popped for steroids and then they're back in the ring. Everybody gets cleared eventually. What you are not cleared of is the fact that you had performance-enhancing drugs in your system. You are not cleared of that.
There are kids watching this event, watching this fight. Eubank can't let them believe that drug use is something that can be overlooked or forgiven easily. To him, using performance-enhancing drugs is more than just a mistake. It's a dishonor that takes away a fighter's credibility and respect. Eubank is determined to show that cheating will not be ignored, even if Ben is cleared to fight. His mission is to take away Ben's integrity and make sure that the consequences of his actions are never forgotten. Eubank is determined to make sure Ben's past actions are never forgotten, and he knows exactly how he plans to do it. Eubank views the egg as more than just a symbolic act. It's about creating a lasting image. By smashing the egg across Ben's chin, he aimed to leave a visual mark that would follow Ben for the rest of his career. This was about taking away Ben's golden boy image and replacing it with the reminder of his past mistakes. Eubank believes that the snapshot of Ben with egg yolk dripping down his face will stay in the public's mind, especially for younger fans. For him, this moment will serve as a reminder: cheat in boxing and you'll pay for it. The tension between Eubank and Ben continued to escalate, with their rivalry reaching new heights.
Unacceptable.
No ban, clear to fight, no fine.
It's not good.
That's one thing. I don't care if it's good.
But that is true.
Was there drugs in your system?
Maybe not. None of your business. I think he's an absolute idiot. You've got a big head. Even your dad don't like you. That's an accomplishment.
What if I was to slap you right now?
He's on me.
Stop moaning about it. A little push and shove.
Well,
that's a matter of fact. How's that disrespect? You can't give it and not take.
On the Piers Morgan Uncensored set, their animosity boiled over once again, with the two fighters nearly coming to blows. The heated exchange was so intense that security had to step in to separate them as both men struggled to control their emotions. This confrontation was just another chapter in the long-standing feud, showing that neither fighter is backing down. The build-up up to their fight has been nothing short of explosive, and it's clear that the personal rivalry is only getting stronger. Fans are eagerly watching to see how this rivalry will play out in the ring. Eubank is frustrated by Benn's attempts to get under his skin, especially when it comes to personal topics.
Does it sting? It doesn't sting. Conor doesn't know what he's talking about. He's saying things because he's a meathead who's just trying to get a reaction out of me. He doesn't know the real relationship that me and my father have, what we've been through. You know, it's just more annoying than anything, because it's just like, come on, like, that's all you got? That's all you can say? You know, your dad doesn't like you? Like, you know.
He dismisses Benn's comments as nothing more than attempts to provoke him, calling Benn a meathead who doesn't understand the deep relationship he shares with his father. Eubank finds it more annoying than anything, questioning how Benn can stoop to such low blows. For Eubank, the remarks about his father are empty because Benn doesn't truly know what he and his father have been through. It seems like nothing more than a cheap tactic to get a reaction, but Eubank is quick to dismiss it as meaningless. Eubank is unimpressed with Benn's responses during their heated exchanges, feeling that his rival lacks depth in his words.
You know, we had so much time to prepare for these interviews and press conferences and TV shows. How are you coming into these things with like 1 or 2 lines? Like, are you that much of an idiot that you can only muster up 2 or 3 lines? Your dad doesn't like you. You're an idiot. You have the IQ of a 5-year-old, and I'm gonna smash your head in or something like that. He keeps saying it. He says like 2 or 3 things over and over. That's all he says. I don't know how someone can be so stupid. But, you know, I guess not everyone can be educated. Not everyone can be able to talk and make sense of what they're saying.
He expresses frustration with Benn's repeated, shallow comments, criticizing him for resorting to the same lines over and over. Eubank questions how someone could come to these press events with such little to say, calling Benn's remarks foolish and repetitive. For Eubank, it's not just about the trash talk, it's about the lack of substance behind it. He can't understand how Benn keeps repeating the same tired insults without adding anything new or meaningful to the conversation. Eubank believes that this behavior shows a lack of intelligence and doesn't take Benn seriously. The rivalry between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn reached new heights when promoter Eddie Hearn stepped into the mix, further intensifying the tension.
I know that Eddie knows that he's just given me 100 grand, which is why...
Cool. We can have a bigger bet. We can have £1 million.
You want to do £1 million on Conor Benn?
In escrow. Listen, tomorrow morning.
He has
I'm telling you now, £1 million in escrow tomorrow morning.
On what?
On what? On the fight.
You're going to bet £1 million on Conor Benn?
In escrow tomorrow morning.
Listen, he's got billions, all right?
That's the first true thing you've said.
No, he's got a lot of money. He's inherited a lot of money.
So to be honest with you, like at the end of the day, the reality is winning is worth a lot more than 100 grand.
Eddie Hearn, who represents Benn, raised the stakes by offering a £1 million bet on the outcome of the fight. This bold move not only fueled the fire, but also added even more excitement to the already heated contest. Eubank's promoter initially declined the bet, but Eubank Jr. himself accepted, turning the wager into a personal challenge between the two men. Eubank Jr. wasn't backing down from the challenge, and he quickly accepted Eddie Hearn's £1 million bet, adding even more drama to the fight.
Come on, Eddie. £1 million, eh? Okay. Let's find out if you're a man of your word or just a lying hype job. I formally accept your £1 million bet. And the £1 million will be our own personal money. Not company money or purse money, just a straight up bet between me and you. The money will go into escrow and the winner takes all. So now I look forward to watching you try and weasel your way out of this bet like the rodent I know you are. Good day.
Eubank made it clear that he was all in for the bet. He further stated in his tweet, "I accept your £1 million bet on my fight against Conor Benn on April 26th. Put your money where your mouth is at Eddie Hearn." Eubank's acceptance of the bet made the stakes even higher and turned the fight into a personal battle, not just between the fighters, but between the promoters as well. He saw this as an opportunity to take control of the narrative and prove his point in a way that would resonate beyond the ring. By accepting the bet, Eubank showed he's ready to put everything on the line for this fight, and it was clear this wasn't just about settling scores. It was about making a statement. The fight was now not only a clash of two boxers, but a full-scale showdown with millions on the line. Eubank continued to criticize Eddie Hearn for backing out of the £1 million bet, calling him out for his actions.
Eddie the Weasel Hearn made a bet that his ass couldn't cash. That's what he did. Giving it the big un in front of Ben Shalom, telling him, I want to put £1 million in escrow for the fight, my guy against your guy. He said it on camera. So I said to him, I said to the world, I accept the bet. We both put our $1 million in escrow. Once the fight's done, whoever wins gets all the money. And you know, he pussied out. He started using you know, the excuse of, I received an email. You know, this is a grown man. This is a grown businessman. In fact, one of the biggest businessmen in the sport of boxing in the world. If he wants to put £1 million somewhere, he can do that. No one can send him an email telling him he can't. He doesn't want to do it because he was lying.
Eubank accused Hearn of making a bold bet but failing to follow through, claiming he out when it came time to put the money in escrow. According to Eubank, Hearn made the offer in front of Ben's promoter, Ben Shalom, and even said it on camera, but later backed out, citing a vague excuse about receiving an email. For Eubank, this was an act of dishonesty, especially from someone in Hearn's position as a top businessman in boxing. Eubank felt that Hearn was lying to avoid following through with the bet and showing his true intentions. Eubank continued his attack on Eddie Hearn, accusing him of dishonesty and manipulation in the sport. He claimed that Hearn often got away with lying because of his powerful position in boxing. Fighters, according to Eubank, are too afraid to call him out, fearing they might lose opportunities or financial backing. But Eubank made it clear that he's not intimidated by Hearn's influence. He's determined to expose any lies, no matter the consequences. For Eubank, integrity matters more than playing the game, and he's committed to holding powerful figures accountable. As the build-up to the fight intensifies, even boxing legends are weighing in on the showdown between Eubank and Ben. Lennox Lewis stated, Eubank Jr.'s defense is top-notch, but Ben's hunger and power make him a real threat. It's a 50-50 fight for me. Lennox Lewis, the former heavyweight champion, gave his perspective on the matchup, acknowledging Eubank Jr.'s solid defense, but highlighting Ben's hunger and power. He called the fight a 50-50 contest, showing that even with all the bad blood, this is a competitive battle between two talented fighters. Lewis's analysis adds an extra layer of excitement to the fight, with both fighters bringing unique strengths to the ring. This endorsement from a heavyweight legend only fuels the anticipation for what promises to be an explosive encounter. With so many big names in boxing weighing in, the analysis from former champions keeps coming. Ricky Hatton stated, Ben's got the youth and explosiveness, but Eubank Jr.'s experience can't be overlooked. I lean slightly towards Eubank Jr. Ricky Hatton, another boxing legend, added his thoughts, noting Ben's youthful energy and power, but giving the edge to Eubank Jr. because of his experience. Hatton's perspective adds a balanced view to the debate, emphasizing that while Ben's energy could be a factor, Eubank's seasoned skill set could ultimately prevail. The fight remains a close call for many, but with Hatton leaning toward Eubank, it highlights just how evenly matched these two are. This insight only adds to the excitement and uncertainty surrounding the fight. The rivalry between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn has reached a boiling point, with both fighters bringing personal stakes and high tensions to the ring, from Eubank's symbolic egg incident to the intense war of words. It's clear that this fight goes beyond just the sport. It's about pride, revenge, and proving who truly deserves to stand at the top. While Eubank Jr. brings experience and defensive skills, Benn has the raw power and hunger of youth. Both fighters are ready to leave everything in the ring, and this highly highly anticipated showdown promises to be a spectacle no boxing fan will want to miss. What do you think? Who do you see coming out on top in this heated rivalry? Will Experience win over Youth, or will Benn's hunger prove to be too much for Eubank? Do you think the personal tensions will affect their performance, or will they both be able to keep it professional? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this.